Good evening. You all hear me on the mic? I'm Andrew Yeo from the Cardiff Research Development Unit. We're one of 7 units nationwide. And to give you a little bit of idea about how we operate, we have 3 senior inspectors in the Cardiff R&D unit, of which only 2 are in post at the moment. One is on maternity leave until the summer. And we have 4 other inspectors, 2 clerical staff, and we have another senior inspector who's in our satellite office up in Glasgow. Cardiff deals with Scotland, Wales, Bristol, southwest of England, Hereford, Worcester, Gloucester, and a bit of London as well. So we need the person up in Scotland. So what are R&D tax credits all about? They are additional relief for companies undertaking qualifying research and development. And if your company's making a profit, they'll reduce the tax bill. If, on the other hand, you're a small, medium enterprise, and I should mention here that for our purposes, the normal EU definition of a small, medium enterprise is doubled. So whereas a SME is normally less than 250 staff, for R&D purposes only, it's less than 500. And when you come to the financial limits, they're similarly doubled. So we give relief to a wider range of companies under the SME scheme. SMEs, if they make a loss, can sell all or some of those losses back to us for a cash payment. And that really depends. When I say some or all, that there are limits depending upon your pay-as-you-earn cover and the relationship between the losses and the R&D relief. Dedicated staff available in a specialist unit. When I wrote this, when I said dedicated staff, what I meant was that the staff were dedicated to that unit. We are specialists in R&D. But however, having gone through it as part of this presentation, I realized that it also means the second meaning of dedicated, because the people on the R&D unit really do want to help companies succeed. And we really do enjoy giving the relief to companies and helping companies to make claims. In fact, it's a bit of a culture shock for companies to see HMRC in that light. And it's probably a bit of a culture shock to inspectors of taxes who join us because we are completely different. What we want to do is make sure that the right people get the right support. And the view behind that is to boost the UK economy. Gone are the days when we were the great manufacturing nation, the great industrial nation. The way forward in the future is through innovation. How much is it worth? Well, when you spend money on R&D, you get relief for it anyway as part of the normal expenses of the company. Our scheme gives you an extra deduction on top of those costs. I have there up to doubling the effective tax deduction. That's 100% increase is for the period up to the 31st of March has just gone. And that only ran for 12 months. Prior to that, it was 75%. And from the 1st of April, it's up to 125%. Don't worry about the figures. If you want to know anything about making claims for previous years, give us a buzz and we'll talk you through it. If the company is a SME making a loss, it can sell some or all of those losses back to us at a rate of 12.5%. That's less generous than the normal corporation tax rate, but the reason behind that is that you're getting the money now rather than at some future point in time when the losses can be used against profits. That 12.5% rate, again, that's changed over the years. The way it works is that the combination of the relief we give you and the discounted rate that you can sell losses to us will always work out to very roughly 25 pence in the pound of underlying expenditure. And that's because Europe limits us to giving a 25 pence in the pound relief under the state aid provisions. There are handouts in your booklets there which do give some examples of how the scheme can help support your research and development. I deliberately, when I was asked to do this, I was asked not to make it too technical. So I've avoided any sort of technical issues that I can. These are some of my personal experiences. And the first one I remember quite well. It was within the first couple of years that I was on the unit. A West Wales company rang us and said that they'd been informed by their accountant that they couldn't claim R&D, that they weren't doing it. And I went out and I spent sort of half a day at their premises. And it was a little bit difficult to tease out exactly what they were doing. But once I did, they were clearly doing research and development. And they've been making claims for a number of years now, and they've received significant relief. I mentioned there that R&D spend has decreased in the last year, but they're still claiming around £15,000 cash value of relief. And hopefully, if the economic situation improves, their R&D will increase as well. We got another company, and this second company is what happens usually. The vast majority of claims come in, and as long as the claim is made and there's sufficient information, and we can look at it and tick it, the claim goes through. It was accepted without query, and they've now contacted us to say they've taken on an extra 12 staff. As a result of the support given. As I said, I've been in the revenue 35 years. I've done almost every job that it's possible to have on the direct taxes side. And it's the only job where I'm consistently thanked. Even when I go in and I take money off someone, they do thank me for explaining, the rules and making sure that they're doing things right. I think, companies genuinely want clarity, surety, and making a claim in the correct figures. And that's the important thing, and that's what we are there for, is to give them a hand to make sure that they do make a claim with a minimum of fuss. These are some emails that we've had. Only one of those is my email. I pinched the other two from other people on the team. Many thanks for the information, clear, concise. We do give advice over the phone. We will come out to events like this. Rarely, when we started on the R&D unit, we did make a point of coming out and seeing companies whenever we could. Unfortunately, due to resource restrictions, we can't do that quite as often as we would like. If there are a few companies on, say, a science park or something like that, where we could dip in and spend perhaps an hour and a half with 3 or 4 companies, then that would be a better way to get us to come out and look at your business. And a couple more just saying how valuable the R&D tax credits are. And the last one, they were particularly effusive. That's only a part of their email. That they would have gone under had it not been for the tax credits, and now they're making very significant profits. But not everything qualifies. As I said, I don't want to be too technical here, so I'm just going to give you a flavour of this. Just adding functionality isn't enough. Sometimes we get people writing in and saying, we've improved our product, it now does X, Y, and Z. There must be an advance in science and technology. Often you can add functionality to something using existing knowledge. So you must be advancing science and technology. And that advance must be achieved by resolving a scientific or technological uncertainty. Not, we didn't know whether we could sell it, which is one I've had. That's not a scientific or technological uncertainty. Must not be readily deducible by a competent professional. Oh, I hate that one. Yeah, it's supposed to be a sort of theoretical competent professional. The reason we have that in there, and I'll give you 2 examples why we have that in there. It's to stop the company who employed some A-level students from saying the work they were doing was R&D because they were advancing their knowledge. It's supposed to be a competent professional in that field. So it's somebody who's aware of the latest science and technology in that field. And readily deducible, I've actually seen one in the last couple of weeks where they split their R&D projects into R&D projects taking less than 2 hours and R&D projects taking more than 2 hours. I'm not saying you can't do an R&D project in less than 2 hours, but we'd certainly look closely at whether that was readily deducible or not. Improvement, optimizations, or fine-tuning, which don't materially advance science or technology, they are not R&D. What we are looking for is something, it's got to be an appreciable improvement. Now, we do realize that in some branches of science and technology, there'll be an incremental increase. But if you're incrementally advancing something with an aim of at the end point having a significant advance, that's okay. What we're looking at there is just sort of minor tweaking of your product. Science excludes social sciences, humanities, and economics. It also excludes pure maths, which one of my colleagues who has a maths degree will never let me forget. Very often we get software where the software is developing a product which has impact in one of those areas, social sciences, humanities, or economics. It's very important to realize that you have to distinguish the advance in social science, humanities, or economics from the writing of the program, and there may still be R&D if in writing the program there was an advance in computer programming technique. So that's just something to be aware of. And grants can reduce the claim, but some relief may still be possible. We had a few problems in earlier years where grant-giving authorities would say, it's a grant, you've had it, you can't claim R&D tax credits. That's not true, you can. If the grant is a notified state aid, it affects your claim quite a bit. If it's not a notified state aid, it affects your claim to a lesser degree. But in any case, whatever you're not allowed to claim under our SME scheme, you can claim under our large scheme. So I usually advise people that if they have grants for projects, give us a buzz and talk it over with us and we'll explain it. Yeah, and sometimes it's a little both. When you create a commercial product, it's unlikely that the whole cost of creating the product will be research and development. A product may have one or a number of advances in science and technology within there, and potentially each one of those advances is an R&D project. You can only claim for the effort of achieving those advances, not the whole cost of making the product. As I say, it can be a complex area, and very often you know your product, we don't. So it's down to you sort of explaining to us exactly what you're doing. And I said, when you prepared one claim, it's usually much easier. I went to a meeting with a couple of directors, and they said to me, "Oh, this is terrible. We've spent, with two of us, I've spent 2 whole days putting this R&D claim together." And I said, how much is the claim for? And they said, £60,000 cashback. And I said, right, that's £60,000 for the 2 of you for 2 days. When was the last time you brought that amount of money in? And I said, next year, are you going to put in a similar claim? And they said, yes. And I said, how long will it take you next year? Now you've done it once. And obviously it was taking a lot less time. So if there's a bit of pain the first time you put a claim in, stick with it, because once you've done it once, it is easier and it is worthwhile. You make your claim with a return, either with the original return or as an amendment. Original returns have to be e-filed. Amendments, at the moment, you can e-file them or send them in as a paper copy. If you're making a first R&D claim, please let us know. If you e-file a first claim, we will pick it up. But if you want to go belt and braces, pick the phone up or drop us an email on the contact details in your handouts, and we'll keep an eye open for it. We do like to see a description of the R&D undertaken and a high-level breakdown of the costs underlying the claim. Our website, and again, there are links at the end of this presentation and in the handouts, give you some guidance as to what to provide. If you're not sure, give us a ring, and we'll just give you a quick rundown of what we expect to see. If you have numerous projects, I don't want to look through 150 pages of descriptions of what you're doing, and I'm sure you certainly don't want to write 150 pages. So what we suggest is that you get in touch with us before you ever make a claim, and we will talk to you about what we can do to make the work less for you and less for us. There's a 2-year time limit on making claims. That's the simple version. It's a little bit more complex than that, but generally 2 years after the end of your accounting period is the time limit for making a claim. You can make a late claim, but you need a good reason why the claim was made late, and in my experience, very few get accepted. Although we can advise on the R&D unit, they're subject to national oversight. And where to find more help. As I said, these details are in the leaflets which are in the packs that were handed out. That's our website. The website gives a general overview of research and development, but it also has links into our more detailed guidance. There's our address, our telephone number and fax, and our email address. If you're happy to email us, then we are happy to receive emails. HMRC has a policy with responding via email. We might not be able to respond via email to you, or we might have to get you to sign a disclaimer to say that you're happy for us to do so. But I quite like to deal with email, and some of you in the larger companies may already have email agreements with the inspectors responsible for dealing with your companies. The telephone number on there is a general telephone number, but it is on our team and it is constantly manned. So it's not going through to a call center. You are actually coming through to a real person on the specialist unit. And basically, that's it. Thank you.